Hello and welcome back to Her Becoming, episode 21 and part 4 of the Reset series. I am your host, Kayla Countryman. It is so amazing to have you here. If you are tuning in for the first time today, we are in the middle of a series that we have been doing all of September called The Reset. And the Reset is really intended to help you get your life back on track in all areas of your health holistically. So if today is your first episode of The Reset, I highly recommend going back and starting from part 1. If you have been rocking with me through each phase of this Reset series, I appreciate you. I have been loving these episodes. It sounds like y'all have been loving them too. And I'm so excited to jump into part 4 today, which is all about physical well-being. So the point of this episode of The Reset is really helping you get back into your body and also helping you understand simple changes that you can make to feel your best in the category of physical health. So, ironically, as we're talking about physical well-being today, I'm a little bit on the struggle bus. I'm not gonna lie. I decided that yesterday would be a good day for me to paint my entire downstairs guest bathroom by myself. And me being me, who is someone who sets really ambitious goals and really ambitious to-do lists and then has to figure out a way to do all of it, yesterday was the day that I chose the color. Yesterday was the day that I went to Lowe's and bought all the supplies. Yesterday was the day that I prepped the bathroom and taped up all of the baseboards and the door and everything. And yesterday was also the day that I painted. So it was a really long day. I ended up having to do the second coat this morning because I ran out of time. And y'all, painting a room by yourself, I was not ready. It's a very small bathroom, so I thought it would be easy peasy. I am tired. I am sore. My arm, my wrist, my elbow, everything hurts. And it took so much more out of me than I was expecting. So I'm showing up today physically a little bit on E. I'm also deep in my luteal phase. I'm on cycle day 27. We're going to talk about the woman's cycle a bit today, so this is relevant information. Typically, cycle day 27, so I'm a couple days before my period, is not a time that I'd be recording this podcast. I'm feeling a little bit sleepy, a little bit low energy, but it's just how it worked out. And sometimes you just have to make things happen. And knowing that I'm aware of what I need to do to balance out after this, which will be to lay on my couch and rest for the rest of the day. So there's a reason that physical well-being is part 4 of this Reset series and not part 1. When people think of health in the traditional sense, they come straight here: diet and exercise. And these things are extremely important, but it is crucial that you first understand how your mind works, where you're at emotionally, even where you're at spiritually with connection with yourself and others, before you can really take the actions that it requires for you to adjust your physical well-being. Like I said in part 2 of the Reset, you cannot change your exercise routine if you haven't first changed your mindset around fitness and exercise and how it affects your overall well-being. So we have arrived here to part 4, and today we are finally getting into your physical well-being. The question that I'm going to pose for you in this episode, and I want you to keep it top of mind this whole time, is: when do I feel at my best in my body? When do I feel at my best in my body? Taking full accountability of yourself and your being. When do you feel your best? We're going to walk through 3 different aspects of your physical health in this episode. And this is just what I feel is important as part of this series. These are things that we can easily make adjustments to and easily understand to make real changes in our life. Know that there are so many different elements that make up your physical health. It would be impossible for me to touch on every part of physical health in one episode. So this is really narrowing into what I've identified as 3 important elements that will actually help you make changes in your life. Okay, so the first thing, and this comes at no surprise to anyone, is how you nourish your body. I know it sounds so cliche, but what you eat really does matter. What you put into your body is a crucial part of your health, how you feel, your mood, your energy, your hormones. It affects everything. And simply thinking of eating healthy is such a generic term, and it can be hard to really understand what that means. You have to take it upon yourself to identify what eating healthy means for you. Your body is completely different than everyone else's bodies. You have different needs, you have different desires, and you have different things that make up who you are. For that reason, I don't believe in one size fits all diets, one size fits all approaches to eating and nutrition. I believe in finding what works for you and what supports your own unique health goals physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. I'm approaching this conversation around nutrition today as a health coach. And to me, eating healthy is all about nutrient density. Nutrient density means choosing foods that give you the most vitamins, the most minerals, and the most energy. So, for example, an avocado, a bowl of berries, a couple slices of turkey with a side of fruit, those are all more nutrient dense options than, let's say, a bag of chips. Thinking of colorful, whole, single ingredient foods. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I'm all about filling my plate with whole, colorful foods. And there's actually science behind eating colorful. Different colored foods actually have different benefits. So, for example, red foods have a lot of antioxidants in them. Yellow foods are really good for digestion. Orange foods can be really good for hormone health and fertility. Green food, as we know, is like a multivitamin. Lots of green leafy vegetables give you so many nutrients. And so there's actually science and data behind filling your plate with colorful foods because when you do that, you are hitting different areas of nutrients and minerals and vitamins. And that's really important in nourishing your body before supplementation. I know a lot of people look to supplements to get what they need, but the reality is, if you're prioritizing whole, colorful, nutrient dense foods, you can get a lot of what you need, and then supplementation can be used simply to fill those gaps. A really easy way to focus on nutrient density, well, first and foremost, is to focus on buying whole foods when you go to the grocery store. But second of all, is eating at home instead of getting takeout quite often. When you eat at home, you know what's going into your food, you're able to control the ingredients, and you also can make sure that you're getting a variety of food into your system. I'm really big into meal prep. Meal prep for me is something that I'd put on the list of what makes my body feel really good because when I know that I have healthy food in my fridge that I can easily heat up and eat, I'm going to feel at my best. And I'm all about meal prepping ingredients instead of meal prepping meals that leave you eating like 8 of the same thing throughout the week. What I mean by meal prepping ingredients, so like I said, I like to grocery shop and buy a bunch of whole foods with a few treats in there, of course. But in my fridge, I love to have either brown rice or white rice already cooked, some beans or some legumes or lentils, and then protein. So I'll often do ground beef, chicken thighs, chicken breast, salmon, a couple of those. And then I'll also have some veggies, so some spinach, some broccoli, some sweet potatoes. And with all of those ingredients, I can make a ton of different meals. So I don't have to worry about eating the same meal over and over and over and getting sick of it because I have the ability to mix and match what I'm going to have each day. So that works really well for me. That's absolutely something that you can take on and try yourself. You can reach out to me and ask me about it. It is so beneficial for me. And then the other thing is balance and moderation, right? Because let's be real, 100% of your diet isn't going to be whole foods. I just had a chocolate chip cookie right before I pressed record. It's not realistic to expect 100% perfection. And we also need to realize that food is joy, food is culture, food is nostalgia. So there's all of these different aspects that go into our nutrition. Prioritizing nutrient dense whole foods is amazing. That's going to ensure that you get the nutrients that you need and eat healthy most of the time. However, you also need to factor in the things that just simply bring you joy. Maybe that's a sweet treat. Maybe that's something specific to your culture, a homemade meal that brings you comfort. Maybe it's something you loved as a kid. My favorite food to this day is bean and cheese burritos because I grew up asking my parents for bean and cheese burritos left and right. I still eat them quite often. It's one of my favorite things to get. So do not deprive yourself of the things that bring you joy. My intention with talking about nourishing your body as part of the reset is not to say, get on this diet, try this thing, and then cut everything else out. Not at all the point. The point here is focus on nutrient density and then understand what feels good for you as far as balancing that out with other things that bring you joy and give you energy and uplift your mood. A really cool thing about us as humans is our bodies naturally crave balance. So the best example I can give here is when you go on a long trip and you're eating out the whole time or you're eating different food that your body isn't used to. Oftentimes we come home and what do we crave? A green juice, a salad, some fresh fruit, some vegetables. That is intentional. That is our body's way of saying, hey, you were out of balance for some time. Can you please go to the opposite end so that I can get back into balance? That is our body communicating with us. And I think it's really powerful. So when we think about nourishment, also think about listening to your body and paying attention to your body. Your body is going to tell you when it likes or doesn't like something that you've eaten. If you eat something specific and you feel really heavy or gassy, bloated after, that's your body signaling, hey, that didn't really work for me. On the other side, if you eat something that gives you energy, that's your body's way of communicating, hey, I really liked that, or that worked well for me. So the moral of the story with nourishment here is focus on listening to your body. If you are someone who is like, I know I need to eat healthier, the first step is becoming aware of what's working for you and what's not working for you. Then the second step would be focusing on nutrient-dense whole foods. Next, we're going to talk about moving your body, exercise, and specifically moving your body as an act of self-love and not as a punishment. When we hear the words fitness and exercise, we kind of think of these like really regimented routines that are strict and you can't mess up, you can't miss a day. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about moving your body as an act of joy, as an act of gratitude, and having the ability to train and to walk and to run and to do the things that you really love to do. Now, that's not to say that working out and moving your body should always feel easy or that you should always feel like it. You want to find a routine that works for you and that is sustainable, but also something that challenges you when your body is ready to be challenged. So, for example, women should be incorporating strength training into our routines regularly. It's for our muscle mass, it's for our bone density, it's for our longevity, men as well, but it's especially important for women. So, does strength training always feel like a walk in the park? No. Does cardio always feel like the easiest, breeziest thing ever? No. That doesn't mean that it's not an act of self-love. Just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not loving to your body, right? We have to get used to challenging ourselves, but then also knowing when enough is enough and when to rest. And it really is a fine line that just comes back to knowing what your body needs, knowing what you prefer, and knowing how your body works. We're going to talk about our cycles next, and these things really go hand in hand. But the moral of the story here is figuring out what types of movement feel good in your body. For me, my favorite split is mat Pilates, strength training, and then playing outside. So depending on where I'm at in my cycle, I will do a combination of mat Pilates and strength training. And then I'll pick 1 to 2 times per week where I go play outside, either tennis or pickleball with my friends. And not only is it great cardio, but it's also a great social connection and interaction that truly brings me joy. So there are ways that you can make your movement more fun and more fulfilling. But I say this to say it shouldn't always quite literally feel like a walk in the park. And I don't want us to count out walks. Walking is so important. Steps, so important. Most of us sit down for 8 hours a day at our desk, and that sedentary lifestyle is not good for us. It is not good at all. So going for walks, moving your body, stretching, they're incredibly important. I just also don't want us to only count on that, only going for walks or only doing light stretching and yoga. As women, we really need to be focused on staying strong. It is a life skill to stay strong. If you fall down, you need to be able to get yourself up. Knowing how to move things safely. These are functional skills that come from moving your body. So, as part of this reset, I want you to ask yourself and just check in. What is your movement routine missing right now? Or what would you like to add to it? Where do you feel good about moving your body? And what's something that you maybe want to try, something new that you've been looking at from afar for some time and you're ready to incorporate it into your routine? Also, how can you make moving your body more joyful and less of a punishment? Maybe taking up a sport that you used to love in high school, or gathering a group of friends and trying something new like pickleball. I know it's so cliche now, you guys, but pickleball is so fun. I freaking love it. It has become such a big part of my life, and it has completely transformed my mental health. So, trying something new, even as we're in our late 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, however old you are, it's never too late to try something playful. And then the third and final aspect of physical health that I want to touch on within this reset is understanding your cycle. And this will be specifically for women. I know we have a few male listeners. Shout out to the fellas. We're so happy you're here. Maybe this can help you better understand the women in your life. And we will eventually do an entire episode breaking down the menstrual cycle. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. But I just want to give you some quick tips on understanding your cycle and how it impacts what we've already talked about today as far as your nourishment and your movement. So, just to set the stage here, the cycle has 4 different phases. Throughout those 28-ish days, our hormone levels change, which impacts our mood, appetite, libido, skin, gut, energy, sleep, stress. The list can go on. It affects our entire life. I don't think we can speak about physical health without understanding how our cycle impacts our overall health. I think it is absolutely crucial that women understand our cycles and know how to make adjustments throughout that 28-ish day period. Unfortunately, this isn't something that is taught in education and in schools. It's something that I have been studying for years and really learning to understand with my own physical body. And now I get the pleasure of teaching other women how to do the same. But if you can take away one thing from this episode today, I'd really encourage you to start learning your cycle. So I'm going to just do a quick run through. Like I said, we will do a full breakdown episode on this in the future, but I just want you to have a high level understanding of how your menstrual cycle impacts your physical health and how you can use it as you're resetting and getting back on track. So the first phase of your menstrual cycle is your menstrual phase. This is when you are bleeding. During this phase, it is absolutely crucial to get rest, to increase your sleep. You want to nourish yourself with warm foods, so think like soups and broths and warm meals as opposed to smoothies and cold yogurts and things. And then you'll also want to focus on gentle walks and low impact workouts. There was a time when I would be in a spin class while fully bleeding, and I look back on that years ago, and if that's you, there's no judgment. I say that to say we aren't meant to do that. We are not meant to operate in these high cardio workouts while we're bleeding. And so I share this because understanding how to adjust your workouts to fit your cycle is really important. So while you are bleeding, is a really great time to simply go for a walk or do restorative yoga, some gentle Pilates, something that isn't going to take a ton of energy because you're already going to feel low on energy while you're on your period. The next phase is your follicular phase, and depending on what research you're looking at, some people consider the follicular phase the first half of your cycle, so including your menstrual, your bleed. I like to look at the follicular phase from the end of your period up until you ovulate. This is the time when your energy starts to go up again. So your social battery starts to turn on, you're sleeping better, and it's a really great time to incorporate higher intensity workouts and strength training and a little bit of cardio. So you'll notice naturally at the end of your period, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm getting my groove back. I feel like myself again. That's the time that you can really pick up the speed of the intensity of your workouts and your movement, and your body will respond well. After your follicular phase comes ovulation. And if you know, ovulation is like peak thriving for most women. I'm not going to say all women because some women actually don't experience that peak during ovulation, but a lot of us do. It's when your skin is the clearest and glowing, your body just naturally feels really good, you're sleeping well. It's for me when I'm able to really wake up earlier, go to those morning classes, have higher energy. It's a really good time to do cardio. Also a really good time to be social, go see your friends, play outside, that type of thing. And then comes your luteal phase. We quite literally spend like half of our life in our luteal phase, which I find to be quite rude, but there are ways to make it better. Our luteal phase is from after ovulation until you get your period again. So it's about a 2-ish week period. This is the time that you naturally feel your body start to slow down. Your energy sort of starts to taper off. You're hungrier. You want to increase your calorie intake during your luteal phase because your body is actually utilizing more energy. So you're going to want to allow yourself to eat more. Your body temperature increases during this phase, which can impact your sleep. I know for myself, I find myself tossing and turning a lot for a few nights before I get my period. It's a time that you'll want to focus on movement that feels gentle. So think strength training, but maybe not as intense, maybe not as many times during the week. Some Pilates, some hot yoga, that's going to feel really good. It's also the time that you want to limit alcohol. For me, in my luteal phase, with my temperature rising, my heart rate also goes up. And I know that's true for most of us. So what else makes your heart rate go up? Alcohol. So it's a really nice time to limit or completely cut out alcohol during your luteal phase, again, just to reserve some of that energy. I mentioned sleep briefly. Sleep is one of the most underrated pillars of physical health. Adults truly need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. And that's not up for debate. I know some people are like, I only need 5. No, you just aren't getting the maximum benefit that you could be getting if you were sleeping 7 to 9. We need sleep. Quality sleep is tied to a better immune system, weight regulation, mood, and reduced risk of chronic disease. So during your luteal phase, when your body temperature is higher, like I said, I find myself tossing and turning, not sleeping as well. There are a few things that you can do. You'll want to spend a longer time in your wind down routine. I like to read before bed, take a hot shower, sit in my red light, spend a longer time winding down than you usually would. You can also lower your bedroom temp by a degree or two to offset that body temperature increase. And then also add in or increase your magnesium supplementation. Magnesium glycinate is the type of magnesium that supports your sleep. That's a really great supplement to take during your luteal phase. And because there is so much differentiation throughout our entire cycle, this is why I would never recommend to my clients, my women clients, to do something like 75 hard. 75 hard is often used as a really aggressive way to get people to adopt new habits, change their workout routines, lose weight, etc. And it can work for some people. However, I strongly believe that as women, it's important to be in tune with our cycles and really honor where our body is in each phase. And something like 75 hard makes that really challenging because it's simply not realistic for us to show up in the same exact routine 75 days in a row. We're on this 28-ish day cycle. Am I going to feel like doing 2 workouts every single day of my period? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to force myself to, period. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. And that's just because I know what my body needs and what makes me feel good. Now, men, on the other hand, are operating on this 24-hour cycle. Girls, can you imagine like just waking up every day and feeling the same? Isn't that wild? But so for men, something like 75 hard might work because they are set up on that same clock every single day. But for women, it's not something I'd recommend. I am way more interested in adjusting your workouts, your nutrition, and your lifestyle around your cycle to optimize your physical health. So I'll give you an example of how I apply cycle syncing into my workouts. So like I said, I like to do a combination of strength workouts, mat Pilates, and then also playing outside. So I know that I can do 4 strength workouts a week during my follicular phase and around ovulation when I have more energy, I feel strong, I feel really good. That is my optimal time to increase my strength workouts and also add in more cardio. On the other hand, when I am in the end of my luteal phase or the beginning of my menstrual phase, I'm okay with doing 1 strength workout that week and then focusing on walks and yoga and Pilates. That's just what feels good to me. So please just know that as women, we are not built to do the same thing every single day. You are not meant to go to that 6 a.m. spin class every single day, 30 days a month. If that works for you and you love that life, I am not knocking it. I just don't want you to feel guilty if you can't lift as heavy sometimes during your luteal phase, or you don't feel like going to that HIIT class while you're bleeding. That is okay, and you are allowed to give yourself grace. So now I want to come back to the question I posed at the beginning of this episode. When do I feel at my best in my body? Taking everything that we talked about today into consideration, I encourage you to make a list of the things that make you and your body feel good. How can you incorporate more of those things, whether they are habit or routines or even dietary changes, into your life? For me, the things that make me feel the best in my unique body is going to bed early. I love being in bed around 9 o'clock and asleep before 10. Eating at home during the week and just limiting my takeout to a couple times on the weekends. My combination of mat Pilates, strength, and playing outside with my friends every single week. Getting up to walk throughout the day. And then also letting myself take naps. I am a nap girly, especially in my luteal phase and while I'm on my period. I'm going to take a nap. So those are just things that work for me. I want you to make your own list. And no judgment, no specific amount that you need to get to. Just give yourself 5 minutes to brain dump. What are those things that make you feel good or that you maybe think would make you feel good that you're wanting to try? Okay, that concludes part 4 of the reset. As you go out about your week, I really encourage you just to check in with yourself physically. How is your nutrition? How is your movement? Where are you right now in your cycle? What adjustments do you maybe need to make? Maybe giving yourself more grace, or maybe amping up the intensity a little bit depending on where you're at. Like I said, cycle syncing specifically is something I'm so passionate about. It's something that I work on with my clients. So if you're interested in understanding your cycle on a deeper level and making lifestyle changes to accommodate and honor your body, reach out to me. I have spots open for one-on-one wellness coaching, and we will dive right in to help you feel your best physically. I will see you on the next episode of The Reset, where we will be tackling career alignment and then wrapping up this series. Thank you for being here. As always, like, share, subscribe, do what you gotta do to support your girl. It means the world to me. And I will see you on the next one. Until then, be well.